They have about 250,000 followers. Clearly, they are into the world of GTA a great deal. It says, a user claims to have seen a few hours of GTA 6 gameplay at Rockstar from 2024 testing build and describes some interesting details. And if these are true, they are interesting details. Here we go. Here's what he said, or she said, or they said. Shooting NPCs feels so realistic that it makes you feel bad and will be harder to do. NPCs react with realistic movements and show pain and shock when they're shot. Stomach shots make them move slightly back, bend forward, put their hand on their stomach, check for blood, stumble and drop to their knees, gasping for air while stuttering, "Why did you shoot me?" That's interesting, especially, I mean, that's cool. If that's, it's not cool that it happened, but it's, I did a tweet 2 years ago that I still get people coming at me about because they thought it was some kind of racist, homophobic tweet from me, where I basically said, where does an NPC stop being a play piece of like, hey, if I kill 50 of these, I get a trophy? And when does it cross the line into, I don't feel good about what I'm doing? And for some people, including me, depending on the game, it's already arrived at that point. But as it relates to my tweet, I was like, hey, what if you had to do this? I picked the worst thing possible that anybody other than like a devil would go, I don't want to do that, which is going into a minority club filled with all these minorities and shooting it, and destroying it. But you got a trophy for it. Would you do it? And people thought I was like advocating it. People are fucking nuts, man. People are fucking nuts. But regardless, though, I think this sounds really interesting. The first time I ever experienced an NPC in a game where I felt, was Days Gone. And I don't know why it was, if it was the visual fidelity, if it was the way the animations happened when you shot somebody. But when I shot humans in that game, that were NPCs, it's not like I'm not going to play it. It's too offensive. But it gave me a little bit of a pause. I didn't want to do it unless I had to, which I thought was interesting. Here's more stuff. They said cops can set up a crime scene after a shooting and take pictures, measurements. Afterwards, the bodies will be picked up and taken away to a mortuary or hospital. I find that's a hard one to believe. That's a real hard, it's possible, of course, but it seems like a waste of resources that if you just start shooting people, maybe in a specific scene or maybe in a specific mission, but the idea that there is a working system of police and ambulances that show up whenever you kill an NPC, that seems like a lot of problems that you have to solve when it comes to testing and bug testing and making it work everywhere but it does say that cops can set up a crime scene. I don't know about that one. The world feels very alive, as nearly everything has a physical place, even debris and litter of all kinds. Okay. The game is breathtaking and feels truly next gen with a real jump in graphics compared to Red Dead. This one got me interested though, because I hadn't thought about this with it being set in Florida, but I think this could be interesting if it's true. Storms and hurricanes feel real, with wind moving poles and road signs and NPCs losing balance and running for cover. I think that's pretty fucking interesting. I never for once considered this because it was Florida, but if you are going to be sort of, creating the modern day cultural version of what Florida is, you got to have the hurricanes, man. That would be amazing. And I'm sure maybe this has been in a game, but I don't remember ever playing a game that was like in a hurricane storm. I guess that's redundant, but in a hurricane like you see on the Weather Channel when it comes ashore. Like Real Boss Moss says, hurricane heist, let's go. Right, and kayaking, like Gimpy says, in the hurricanes. Or if you guys remember, there was a flood in the South. It might have been New Orleans, and the graves literally came up from the ground, and they were literally. You can see pictures of this. It's not a horror movie, and the coffins were floating through like suburban streets. I mean, what? So yeah, they could do a lot with that. I hope they do. That's fucking nuts, man. If they're actually doing that. I don't think I skipped one. No, we went to this one. Now we're on this one. Crews of maintenance and cleaning will interact with the world and what the player does. Okay. I mean, again, that seems like a lot of work, but maybe. I mean, after a big crash, traffic jams will occur until the road is cleared and a random event can be triggered and a truck, a van, and a crane will arrive at the crash site and NPCs will naturally clean, remove, and load debris and transport it. I don't think that's true, but if it is true, that is going to move the needle. Whether the game's great, bad, or just okay, which I'm sure it won't be bad. If we start seeing NPCs respond in a more realistic way, I think at the AAA level, a lot of games are going to have to start doing that. People are going to demand it. It's just going to be what's expected. It's really cool. NPCs will record and call cops in case of a shooting or after a big car crash. I mean, whatever. Construction workers can actually dig, put up poles with cranes, or do road work. Why? Who cares? The road is destructible to a certain point. Holes in the road have real physics, and water will remain there after a storm until it's evaporated. That's interesting. Necro says the coffins floating up are true. Yeah, I've seen pictures. He says, I worked with a blacksmith that went to help. He collected a bunch of the loose coffin nails and forged them into art pieces that I have a few of. That is amazing. Warrior says, okay, I haven't played Red Dead 2 yet. So he says they are trying to up the realism of Red Dead 2. So do you think then, Warrior, then that based on where they went and the trajectory they were setting in Red Dead 2, that this is possible, that these don't sound, some of these like construction workers, like I like the idea that you can have potholes with water and all that stuff, but actually having maintenance and cops and all that stuff, does that sound like the path they were on with Red Dead 2? Because that would be cool if this is real, if these leaks are real. Realistic driving physics. Each vehicle has its own feel and extra weight. Well, they always do that. Extra armor, passengers' bodies in the trunk will push the rear end down. Car physics are similar to a simulator, and cars can bend or cut in half after hitting a thick pole. Real Boss says it does seem viable that there are horse testicle physics depending on the weather in Red Dead. Buildings cannot be completely destroyed, but to a certain degree, players can destroy their doors, windows, walls, and roofs. This guy's pointing out deflated tire due to extra weight on the front in that image. And I guess here he's pointing out the trash in the street in that image. Wayne B says, our Red Dead had construction of railways. It was cool and cutting trees down too. Warrior says it's an interesting idea, but will it get in the way of the gameplay, the fun? It could. I mean, it could be like, that's the thing. Like, I could see these things happening in planned missions, but the idea that every time you just do anything, there's a natural AI NPC response to it that is that big of a burden for the team of like, okay, every section of the map has to be able to have crews come out and work on them. I mean, that seems weird. Eddie T says there should be in-game TVs that play full shows and movies. Oh, you mean in the game itself? The first one that I know that ever showed a full movie was that Xbox thing from the guy who did Rick and Morty, where he put the dinosaur movie about the guy who had his consciousness transferred into the dinosaur. That was pretty good. Okay, let's see. I need to play. Machine XP says you might be able to turn it down or off through single player. It would play more of a role online. I don't think I have ever played any real meaningful GTA online, and I think I need to fix that. I might even fix that tonight because I know it's huge, and it's just escaped my focus, I guess. Okay, we talked about the buildings. Jason and Lucia is how you say her name, hold guns differently and have their own feel and weight and movements. Players will be able to carry a rifle on their back and a handgun strapped in front. Players can have multiple van car inventories with closed weapons and attachments. What? Clothes attached to the car? I don't understand that sentence. Stealth elements like crouching, going prone, hiding handguns under your shirt, and many things similar to Hitman or Ghost Recon. Okay. One pump, I'll let you know if I'm going to go on. I got to see if I even own it. I'm sure I do, but I may have given it to my kids when they were little and they broke the disc. I got to get a new one. Clothes have their own physics. When you draw a gun, clothes interact with the hand. You can see the skin underneath. They're both separate. Clothes tear, get dirty, sweaty, wet, bloody, and react to knife cuts and bullets. That's cool. The user, Pebble Star, answered a few questions on his post and even more details. He says there will be a National Guard army at the max wanted level. You can ride horses, which are available at farms in rural areas. NPCs are conscious about the player, and they can be robbed or intimidated into putting their phones away if they're recording videos of you that could appear on social media or news. Police AI is smart as they work in groups, communicate with each other, and split into 2 or more groups. I mean, look, like I've said, I made a video a few weeks ago saying I was interested in this game, but I wasn't excited by it. I would be if these leaks are true, I'm certainly excited about doing a heist in a hurricane, or doing like missions in hurricane weather. I'm certainly excited about, what is the emotional and mechanical response to NPCs that have such a sense of agency and respond to your actions in such a way that will it simply just feel more immersive than any other game because of that? Will your sense of how you interact with them change? Or, I think all that stuff's really cool and all that stuff's really interesting if it's true. So I think this is, short of Rockstar giving us any news, at least it's nice to get something, even if it turns out to all be bullshit. But I hope it doesn't, because I do think this sounds pretty cool. I wonder if this will be the last GTA of our lifetime. Jesus, One Pump Man. I hope not. I mean, you plan on dying soon? I certainly don't, but you never know. Hopefully, Necro says they bring back the full 6-star wanted level and cops won't shoot wildly with just 1 star like in GTA 5. I mean, what are the biggest complaints mechanically about GTA 5? Is it still the shooting? I know they did an auto lock. They've always had an auto lock. I mean, I think, what are the things that people who really were serious about GTA are hoping they fix? Like, I personally hate the way cars drive in GTA, and I always have. But I know clearly people don't have a problem with it like I do. But I find them very squirrely, and I understand that certain cars drive different, but I still think they're really squirrely and hard to control. I feel like a small team could do a Vice City-sized knockoff these days, says Gimpy. Probably, yeah, absolutely. It's so much easier to make, the gap between what small teams used to be able to do, which were very simple, and now what small teams can do is fucking nuts, man. So Machine says their shooting has always been not so great. That's with all Rockstar games. I wonder why though. I wonder why that's so hard for them. And I wonder if that could be something that starts that way, but you can level your character up and, get proficient and then it becomes really good to shoot. Necro says character movement was sluggish in GTA 5 kind of because it was so animation heavy. That's the thing, man. You gotta, the better your animations are, the more fluid they are, the more realistic they are, the less control the player has often, which sucks. They should have police oppression and violating people's rights. I agree, Anthony. I mean, I know that the GTA has they'll call it a satire, whether you believe it's a good satire or not is up for debate, of course. But I would love, and maybe GTA is not the brand for it, is my point. But, there's a lot of negative shit that's gone down that I'd love to see a game like GTA, but maybe a different brand deal with. I don't want to say the term because of YouTube, but like where people are educated and they go into those places and people come in and wish to do those young adults harm. I think a scenario like that would be horrifying, but fascinating. I think a scenario like January 6th would be horrifying, but fascinating. I would love, but I don't think either one of those, unless, I guess you could satirize January 6th. You probably can't satirize, some of those other tragedies, of course. The targeting system, says Real Boss, and GTAs are too involved at times. Their systems are numerous, but not necessarily the best feeling. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. That has been the one complaint I see a lot about it. But I'm if these things turn out to be accurate, I consider me more interested than I was before I saw these, is what I would say.